Happy Blackjack Battle Royale to everybody out there. Today we have our group phase table introductions. So without further ado, let's get started. First off, let's discuss how the group phase works. Runners have been assigned to tables where they will race weekly against others at their table. The racer at each table with the fastest times by the end of the group phase will move on to the final table. The flag sets of each table are determined by the luck of the draw. Every week, each runner at the table will draw one of 3 cards the dealer gives them that will determine a flag to be applied to that table's seed. These cards will carry over each week until the end of the group phase. The racer with the lowest time at each table will have another chance to buy in at the Lagomorph Lounge. For every runner they beat, lounge members will earn GP, with the earnings increasing every week. At the end of the group phase, the lounger with the most GP will be able to buy their way into the final table. For the Alexander table, let's see what their picks are. Pick number 1 is Greedy Shops. Pick number 2 is Tough Scaling. Pick 3 is The Gambler. Pick 4 is Thermosan Heirloom. And pick 5 is Transcendent Characters. So let's go through the hand and explain what each pick means. First up is Greedy Shops. This means item prices are between 120 and 160% of their original values. Items sell for a quarter of their value, and shop content is shuffled between shops and then have a 50% chance to be randomized. Tough Scaling means enemies and bosses gain 2.5 levels for each character recruited, Esper acquired, or dragon defeated. Enemy boss and HP/MP also scales 2.5. and enemy boss, EXP, and GP scales 2 times. Enemies scale up to level 50. Next is the Gambler, which will guarantee that one of your characters will be Setzer with slot. Next is Thermosan Heirloom, which means that players will start with a random Esper. And last but not least, Transcendent Characters means characters' starting stats will be between 140 to 200% of their original values. Now heading over to the Bahamut table, we have Thief's Gambit, Near Horizon, The Monk, Countdown, Far Horizon. Now what does this hand mean for the Bahamut table? Thief's Gambit adds an objective to grant all characters plus 20 speed by completing the Win a Coliseum match quest. Near Horizon unlocks Final Kefka after finding 5 characters and 8 Espers. The Monk means one of your starting characters will always be Sabin with Blitz. Countdown means characters are all afflicted with auto-condemned. And Far Horizon means you unlock Final Kefka after getting 8 characters and 12 Espers. Interesting note here is that since Far Horizon was picked last, it cancels out Near Horizon, meaning Bahamut table does have to get 8 characters and 12 Espers. And heading over to the Carbuncle table, we have the Magitech Elite, One Pair, the Rune Knight, Random Bosses, and Potent Espers. Looking at this hand, the Magitech Elite means one of your starting characters will always be Terra with Magitech. One Pair means racers will start with 2 characters. The Rune Knight means one of your starting characters will always be Celeste with Runic. Random Bosses, pretty self-explanatory. Bosses will be randomized with possible repeats. And Potent Espers means each Esper teaches 3 to 5 spells, and all Espers have a random stat bonus. Summons cost 50 to 80% of their original MP cost and can be summoned multiple times per battle. Moving on to Fenrir table, starting off with River Mastery, Tough Scaling. And we have our first skip, Mixed Dragons, and Far Horizon. River Mastery adds the objective to learn 8 blitzes by completing the Elite River check. Tough Scaling, as we discussed before, allows enemies and bosses to gain 2.5 levels for each check. Enemy and boss MP HP scales for 2.5 each check, and enemy boss EXP/GP scales by 2 for each check, and enemies scale up to 50. We also had one runner skip their pick. Then we have Mixed Dragons, where dragons are mixed into the boss pool. And Far Horizon, also discussed before, unlocks Final Kefka after finding 8 characters and 12 Espers. And up next is the Maduin table. First up is the Monk, followed by Discount Magic, and then River Mastery, Pathetic Characters, and the Machinist. The Monk ensures that one of your starting characters will always be Sabin with Blitz. Discount magic brings spell cost down between 25 to 75% of their original cost. River Mastery, as discussed before, adds the objective to learn 8 blitzes by completing the Elite River check. Pathetic Characters has character starting stats between 20 to 60% of their original values, and the Machinist ensures one of your starting characters will always be Edgar with tools. Coming over to table Odin, first check is Dragon's Horizon, the Ninja, Mirror Match, Samurai Dream, and Cloudborn Mystery. Dragon's Horizon unlocks Final Kefka after finding 6 characters, 9 espers, and defeating 4 dragons. The Ninja ensures one of your starting characters will always be Shadow with Throw. Mirror Match means enemy and boss levels, HP, MP, and EXP, GP rewarded are scaled equal to 1 times the highest level in your party, and enemies scale to level 50. Samurai Dream adds the objective to learn 8 sword techs by completing the Doma Dream Awaken check, and Cloudborn Mystery adds the objective to learn 8 blitzes by completing the Floating Continent Escape check. Now on to the Palidor table. First up is the Blade Master, Dragon's Raiment, the Berserker, No Toys, and Balanced Gear. The Blade Master allows one of the starting characters to always be Sabin with Sword Tech. Dragon's Raiment adds the objective to obtain a Dragoon set by defeating 2 dragons. The Berserker allows one of the starting characters to always be Yumaro. No Toys means breakable rods, super balls, and elemental shields are removed from the shops. And Balanced Gear means each piece of equipment and relic are equipable by 7 random characters, and the total number of items equipable for each character is balanced. Now moving on to Ragnarok, first pick is Shuffled Statues, followed by Finality. Then we have Austere Start, next up Random Commands, and lastly Sentry Bosses. This is quite the hand we have here. Shuffled Statues means the statue bosses, Doom, Goddess, and Poltergeist, will be shuffled amongst their original positions. Finality means that permadeath is enabled, life spells cannot be learned, Phoenix Downs are unavailable except from your starting items, and buckets, inns, tents, and events do not revive characters. Phoenix casts life 3 on the party instead of life. Austere Start means that players start with 0 GP, no tools, and 3 Moogle Charms. Random Commands has characters start with random commands with potential duplicates, and Sentry Bosses means 20% of all fixed encounters will be a boss fight. And next we have the Starlet table. First pick for Starlet is Vanilla Shops. Next up is the Dragoon. Then we have Overflow Skip, the Feral Youth, and Vanilla Gear. Vanilla Shops means that item prices and shop contents are unchanged from their original values. The Dragoon ensures that one of your starting characters will always be Edgar with Jump. Overflow Skip means unlocking the Kefka Tower Skip requires finding either 3 extra characters or 3 extra espers beyond the final Kefka requirements. The Feral Youth ensures that one of your starting characters will always be Gao with Rage. And Vanilla Gear means equipment and relics are equipable by their original users only. And now it's time for Tri-Talk Table. First pick is Elder Worms, followed by the Berserker. Next up, NPC Zapper, Potent Espers, and finally, Transcendent Characters. For this hand, Elder Worms means dragons are not affected by scaling and will be encountered with their original levels and abilities. The Berserker ensures that one of your starting characters will always be Yumaro. NPC Zapper means pressing Y while facing an NPC sprite will remove that NPC after a short animation. Potent Espers has each Esper teaching 3 to 5 spells, all Espers have a random stat bonus, summons cost 50 to 80% of their original MP cost, and can be summoned multiple times per battle. And Transcendent Characters has characters starting stats between 140 and 200% of their original values. And last but not least is our Lagomorph Lounge with 7 picks, first one being Empty Chests, second being Scaled Chests, third being The Gambler, fourth being Vanilla Bosses, fifth is Vanilla Commands, sixth is Cecil's Delight, and lastly, Far Horizon. Empty chests means that chest contents are empty, excluding monster in a box chests. However, we have the counterpick scaled chests, which means chest contents are categorized by tier and chosen at random. The odds of higher tier items and equipment increases as more chests are opened. Contents of chests depend on order opened, not location. Since scaled chests was picked second, that will be the active flag for this run. Then we have the Gambler, which ensures one of your starting characters will always be Setzer with slot. Next up is Vanilla Bosses, which means bosses will be found in their original locations. Vanilla Commands means characters start with their original commands. Cecil's Delight means our cursed shield will take between 1 and 8 battles to decurse. Paladin shields may be obtainable in shops, chests, or the Coliseum. And Far Horizon, as discussed earlier, unlocks Final Kefka with 8 characters and 12 espers. And those are the hands that have been dealt for our tables for week 1. Make sure you check back in next week for an update on week 2 and to see who gets to move from the Lagomorph Lounge to a named table. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next time.